All right, Danny, in this video, we're going to focus on one concept that we talked about when we worked together, and that's the concept of dynamic balance. And that's simply maintaining balance while you're in motion in your pitching delivery, working towards the catcher. And I put up two pitchers here. One is Roger Clemens and the other is Greg Maddux, just to illustrate what all great pitchers do in terms of dynamic balance. And it's really simple. The one thing we always want to focus on is where our head is at in relationship to our belly button, or our center of gravity. As long as we're able to keep our head over our belly button throughout our delivery, we're going to maintain balance. That's the simplest way to explain it. So if you look at a guy like Roger Clemens, throughout his delivery, you're always going to see that his head is over his belly button throughout his delivery. And that's going to help him stay balanced. And when he's balanced, he's going to be able to repeat his delivery over and over again. And you see the same thing with a guy like Greg Maddux. As he gets into his delivery, you're going to see that his head is always over his belly button, over his center of gravity, like that. And that's going to create that idea of dynamic balance. And so in this video, we're going to simply focus on the beginning of our delivery and what it looks like to be balanced at the beginning of our delivery and efficient. And we're going to start by just looking at where the pitchers get to in their set position in the stretch. And we'll simply look at Roger Clemens' feet in relationship to his shoulders. So when he's in his set position, you'll notice his feet are pretty much right underneath his shoulders. That's a good balanced position. And you'll see the same thing with Greg Maddux here. His feet are right underneath his shoulders. And that's so important because what they're going to do when they take their knee lift, they're going to bring their knee towards their belly button. And if their feet are wider than shoulder width, that's a longer distance for the knee to travel, which makes it easier to get out of balance. And so again, when we get to our set position, we want our feet just at shoulder width underneath our shoulders, knees slightly bent. And I'll show you what that looks like with your video in a little bit, but just wanted to focus on that key principle there. The next thing I want to focus on with our pro pitchers is what it looks like when the knee actually lifts and where the head is at in relationship to the belly button. So what we can do here is we're going to draw a line right through Roger Clemens' center of his body, through the center of his head and his belly button. And we're going to do the same thing here with Greg Maddux, right through the center of his head and belly button. And I want you to watch when they get the knee lift, you're going to see that both of these guys pretty much stay close to that line. They don't go back way behind that line. They stay right on that line. So if you take Greg Maddux and you take him back to the beginning, watch how easy his knee lift is. When he takes his knee towards his belly button, that head stays in the center of gravity. Doesn't travel too far back. Roger Clemens, if you go back to the right over here, you watch him lift his knee. Again, you see that his head stays in the center of his body. He's got his butt pointed towards the pitcher. So does Greg Maddux. And they're in a good position of balance when they start to lift that knee. And so what I want to do next, now that I've explained that concept of dynamic balance into the knee lift, is I want to go ahead and pull up two of your videos to illustrate this concept. And what we'll do is we'll pull up early video that we took of you before we taught you anything, and then we'll pull up a recent video after we taught you a few things. So the left-hand side is the original video, the right-hand side is the more recent video. And if you look, you're in your set position in both of these here. Right here, we're in our set position. And I want to show first the feet. So in your old video, back foot's here, front foot's here, and you're way wider than shoulder width. In your more recent video, we look at where your feet are at in relationship to your shoulders. They're a little bit more narrow and they're closer to your shoulders. I would argue that you could even bring this front foot in a little bit more to create a better sense of balance when you lift your knee so there's not as much movement. The next thing I want to show you, I'm going to draw a line down the center of your body in both of these videos. So here's your head. We'll draw this line right through the middle of your body. And we'll do the same thing over here on the right hand side, your more recent video. And what I think is really significant is you're going to see a huge improvement on the right hand side in terms of where your head and your belly button is at when you get to the top of your knee lift. So let's go ahead on the left hand side and show you what you look like when you first started. And there's the top of your knee lift right there. And if you look, your whole body, your head, your belly button, your knee was traveling way back behind this original line where you started. And so essentially what you're doing is you're creating momentum away from the catcher when what you really want to be doing is creating momentum towards the catcher. And so if you look on the right hand side, we'll get you to the top of your knee lift right there, and you'll see a much better improved position. You'll see now your head is still in the same spot, your center of gravity is still in the same spot, and you're at that knee lift, which is a great improvement. So that's a great start. One thing I want to do now is leave this original video up and just pull up a pro picture. We'll pull up Roger Clemens or Greg Maddux. Either one is fine. Pop up Greg Maddux here on the left-hand side. And I'm going to get him to the top of his knee lift right here. And I just want you to notice the differences. One significant difference is how far back your knee goes, which is going to make it very difficult for you to maintain balance. Whereas with Greg Maddux, it's more in the center of his body. So you don't have to be as exaggerated with this hip turn and knee lift. And that's something that you can work on right there. But like I showed you, a huge improvement in terms of keeping your head and your center of gravity in the same starting position. So that's good work.